in. I'll start real quick. I think I left my book at my friend's house, but I do have my notes with me, so I'm just gonna read off the a couple of key points that I had off my notes. Um, in the first chapter already, I liked the difference that they highlighted between a resilient company versus a stable company, and how they even said that a stable company, there's like no change. Everything's the same, the same, the same. And it's best to not to not promote, but like not to encourage the stability of a company, but to encourage the resilience of it, so that when there are changes, because there always are going to be changes, that it can get through those changes easily. And I love that it gave the example of Apple versus Microsoft, where they're kind of like one was in competition with the other versus the other one was already thinking like, oh, this is how the future is going to be. And, obviously we've seen like the super success. I mean, they're both successful, but you know what I mean. Um, and then moving on, the whole being for versus being against, and showing people the just cause sentence, where it's not something, and this is a little bit in conjunction with because it's like two chapters talking about it, the just cause versus the moonshot one, where one is like super long term and it has no expiration date, which is the infinite one, right? That's the just cause one. And the other one, the moonshine one, even when he was like, "Oh, we're gonna send someone to the moon," like that was the moonshot one. It's the short-term goal, or short-term way of saying it. Um, and then once that done, once they got to the moon, it was like, okay, now we gotta get another like saying going. And that one was the short-term goal slash the one that has the expiration date. Um, I love that it said, I put here, a just cause invites other to be part of something bigger than other than themselves. And it's a specific vision of a future state that does not yet exist. So it's not even like, oh, where are we going to be in 90 days, which I know we do a lot of like breaking down goals. And the just cause would be like above that, the future state that you want to be in. So I really like that. And then my favorite of this first half was the keeper of the cause. The whole Walmart story, how it became like super popular because his goal was to have like accessible, inexpensive resources for people. And then once the other person took over, although they did praise him and say like this guy's he's good at his job, he's good at leading and managing and everything. But if you're really breaking down the cause of the company, or like what Walmart originally stood for, he's probably the worst person, because it even mentioned something in there that when he took over the role, he started talking about like his strategy, and the way he spoke about his strategy. He started with finances first and growing and this and that, and then the very last sentence was, oh, and then to have affordable food. And I love that it highlighted the fact that your words matter, and the order of things that you say something matters, because it really reveals, subconsciously or not, reveals your purpose and your strategy, and your priorities, like where your focus is at. um Let me see. Oh, and then I love how they kept calling him the CVO instead of the CEO, because his job is supposed to be like, yeah. They even said something about breaking down the CFO, C, all these different C something, and how they each have a role that they're in charge of. And a lot of times they always move like the CFO or the COO up to CEO, because they're like the only people that have that view from the top, where they can see how everything's operating, and they're thinking to themselves like, oh, well, he knows everything that's going on, so it's easy to move him up to CEO. But if the CFO or the COO are not like the ones holding that vision, the company is not going to be successful. So I love that they said that the CVO is the keeper of the vision. I put is responsible for the dream, not the plan. So he's like the one looking at the vision, telling the CFO and CEO like, this is what it's going to look like. This is what I'm visioning. This is the dream. They even said the little goal for the little example for Martin Luther King, like, I had a dream, not I have a plan, because everyone, it was understood that your dream comes with a plan, but you're not the one like executing the plan in terms of like saying exactly what it's going to be. You have a team for that. You're the one delivering the message. Um, so yeah, I really, that was literally, I think that was chapter 4, the keeper of the cause. That was my favorite chapter in this first half.
I really like the book. For me, this is like you can apply it to everything, not just business, absolutely everything in life. And what I really liked was it's sort of like It's a call to your why. It's a call to hope, and it's a call to action. And it's a call to best language. And the best language, it comes out of your why, and it comes out of your heart, and it comes out of the hope. And then that puts everything else into place. And I love that concept, the infinite game, whether you call it a game or not, it's all about enabling your dream. And I just think it's beautifully written. I much prefer it to the last book, I have to say, which was a bit simplistic for me and repetitive. But and I think he's talking about the four. I didn't get as far as you because I have to gauge how many minutes it is in the audiobook, and I was way off it. So I finished the just cause, which I actually really like, all that concept. But he was talking about you have to be for something, and that's like your reason for being alive, your reason for what makes you want to get up in the morning, and also that it's inclusive, and that's a heart thing. If you're in your heart, then it automatically becomes inclusive, and you don't see in us and them. It's we are all kind of like one. And the service, well, it obviously spoke to me, but it's service across the board, and I could see the application within, within Lifeway, service for others. And of course, that's been for me my whole life, and having LifeWave be part of it. So I love that. And then the resilience. Well, God, yeah, that is definitely true. Because if I learn nothing else in life, it's all changeable. You can never guarantee what's going to happen tomorrow. Be grateful that you breathe every day. You don't know what's going to happen, and you gotta have to have a deep-rooted resilience to handle whatever comes in front of you, no matter what. And you're more capable of handling it if you got those other four. It's more than four. Nothing's that finite, okay? When you have a multiplicity of responses that's based from your heart, your reason for being here, that gives you more resilience for those really tough times. And I love this. I really love the book so far. So I didn't get past the second chapter, and I even listened to it again when I was going to sleep last night. And when I woke up, I'd actually finished it. So it's all in here. I just haven't kind of brought it up into my conscious awareness yet. So I'll let you guys know tomorrow or next week, but right now, who knows? We're somewhere in between these two hemispheres, or at the back, probably. I like it. So I'd love to hear how others you responded to it.
Oh my God, I can go. You're hilarious. I really like it. I like the fact, I mean, I can really relate to everything because I feel like that's just kind of my life, meaning that's what I have decided to do with my life. I have a few things here. Number one, the fact about thinking of others first. I feel like that's just how I done everything. Even when I left, well, obviously I became a pediatrician because I wanted to help kids and I wanted to help families. But then when I realized I wasn't doing that in the everyday medical world and decided to leave, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And so I love the fact that it says you're not the best, but instead you're striving to be better every day. And that's kind of me. Like I feel like in the last 11 years since I started my own thing, love here that I put in here that it's all things are a journey and not events, because I certainly feel like this has been a journey of learning more and more every single day is what I tell everyone. Like every day, you definitely, learn something new and make yourself better. You're never done, growing. Um, and what else did I write on here? Hold on. Love that says, in the game of business, we have to stop thinking about who wins and who's the best and start thinking about how to build organizations that are strong enough and healthy enough to stay in the game for many generations to come. Um, I just don't run on, I mean, although I'm an extremely competitive person, and if you tell me, this is whatever, like I will figure it out and I'm gonna win. I'm very competitive, meaning like I will make my goal, whatever my goal is. Yet I am not a very competitive person with other people, meaning Okay, let me explain myself. So when I opened my practice, there was one other pediatrician in Houston doing the same thing. I never saw them as competition. I feel like there's enough people in Houston that, that you're going to speak to certain people. And maybe I'm not going to speak to everyone. I'm not for everybody. And great, there's another doctor or whatever down the street. With the opposite for her. I mean, they went to the point of like she sent her sister who had a baby to come spy on my practice to pretend that she was going to be my patient and then quit a week later. I was like, I just don't understand why people, go that way as like, you're trying to be better, I guess, or the best, or I don't know, and to copy and be mean to someone else. Like there's room in the world for everybody and, inclusivity. Like, I don't know if it was Pixie or Lola talked about that. I think that was, to me, it's huge. Yeah, spies in pediatrics. I know it was crazy. She walked into my office and I'm like, she looks familiar. And I didn't even know what it was. And then she was like, oh, I hope it's not a conflict of interest. But my sister is Dr. Alana, but I just felt like I couldn't really be in her practice because I wanted to go outside of the family. And I remember coming home and telling my husband, is this for real? Like, maybe it is real. Maybe she's looking out and trying to find someone else. And I should be nice and I should be there for her. Yeah, whatever. A week later, she no-showed and called and canceled. So obviously it was not for real. She really was spying, which is crazy. But anyway, I love it. Love. I've never thought about this of like, finite versus an infinite. Love that word that, it is infinite. It's just going to keeps going. And more than ever now, I mean, I've always been a crazy Apple person, but more than ever, like learning and hearing that about how Apple really didn't care again about the competition. It wasn't about beating the competition, but it was about making themselves better and how they can actually help others. That to me like just spoke wonders. And so, although I've always been an Apple person, I'm kind of an Apple snob, now I'm more so. So for sure. So what
You
else?
know, I I've absolutely, took off. I bought the book and I had extra credits on Audible. So, I've been listening and reading, and so I'm going to really get my elbows deep down into the mashed potatoes here because, with Apple only being 20 minutes away over the hill, um, and having had friends from college who went to work there, go to work there in executive management, and hearing the stories and being part of that whole piece from a distance. Of course, I never worked there. um what really set the difference, and I really liked the way he brought it up, versus infinite versus finite. But what I thought was amazing, he didn't mention, that I was able to pull out, is that Microsoft was doing the typical corporate thing. They thought that they had the mass, the muscle mass, where they could just squash Apple. Apple had an idea, or at least Steve Jobs did, that when the phone came to him, the whole idea of the iPhone back prior to 2004, he didn't just make a new technological device. That's sort of it's like Uber. Uber has cars that are running around all over the place, but what's the end game? What's their infinite piece in it? It's data. And what Jobs did is that he looked at this and created a paradigm shift. If you look at your phone, when you look at it as compared to the phone that we used to pick up or push the buttons on and put to our heads, he changed the paradigm in which you took a call or answered a call. If Jay called me and I didn't want to talk to Jay today, all I have to do is just hit the button and Jay goes away and goes to voicemail. And so that whole paradigm shift is the infinite lift, so to speak. And I just absolutely really began to fall in love with the book because it really speaks to how I want to grow my business and how I want to grow my businesses. Um, yes, I mean, the doctor was talking about being competitive with yourself versus being competitive with others. Every day I look at how to challenge myself, but not so much. Metrics are extremely important. But on the same token, if we can get stuck in so much of a morass, similar to what Microsoft did, and in terms of where Apple's going now, I mean, I don't want to get off on the Apple crusade, but and people can say that they're a little lost right now. They're not coming up with products. They're not coming up with innovation. We don't exactly know that because we don't live in the spaceship over there. We really don't know what's going on, and we don't have an idea. It was going to be music. Is it data? Is it AI? I'm sure that they'll come up with their trillions of dollars of cash. I mean, if they wanted to write a check at this point in time, they can write a check for cash, and the U.S. government has to go borrow it. So think of that in terms of a paradigm shift. Um, I love the book. I'm really glad that I bought it in hardcover um, and also on Audible. So, when you're taking an Uber back from the auto mechanic because you needed to get your car, it helps to be able um, to listen to that. But I turned it off and talked to the Uber driver. So I had an opportunity this morning as well. So anyway, great book. I mean, I look forward to, all the rest. But it's a very, very powerful, powerful play. Good choice on it.
Hopefully, you didn't have the same experience with the Uber driver that Pixie had with her driver that time.
No, she was very interested. I gave her my card and got all the info from her. And since the car mechanic had arranged it for me, I gave her a nice little tip too. So
Nice. Well, I will jump in a little bit. So, I am a little bit behind. I had house guests, so I'm admittedly behind, but I did read a little bit into it, and so I kind of like what everybody else kind of said about kind of going into Apple and all that kind of fun stuff. What stood out to me with the whole Apple story and how they compared to Microsoft was really how when they talked to the CEO of Microsoft, how he was really all about the numbers and all about how they were going to basically beat Apple and everything else. And then when he said it's, then when the guy said the executive from Apple, I think he was like employee number 54 or something like that. He says that he's like, they gave me a free Zoom, which I didn't even know what a Zoom was. I have no idea what that is. But they said, here's the Zoom, and the Zoom was so much better than the iPod. And he goes, okay. And that was like the end of the conversation, just because he knows what the end game is going to, he knows what it's going to look like by looking down the road instead of just what it is right now. And then it even more went into when it was the last press conference, I believe, for the Microsoft CEO. And again, how he just basically used all the numbers and all the things that he did to kind of show that was his worth within the company and what he brought to the table, as opposed to again what they did for the people and what Bill Gates had originally went there and had said that this is for the people for learning and for the development and things like that. Is instead of it just being where they turned everybody against each other, all the different departments are working against each other, things like that. I um, I worked for American Express for like 17 years. In various departments, and I ended up in the executive offices for the last like 6 years or 7 years of my time there. And it's funny because I never really thought about it from these two definitions of these two words. And then when I look back on it, I guess one of the ones who was always one of the companies that was always our biggest competitor was Discover. They were trying so hard to always become the American Express. And so when I look back, when I think back and I look at all the different articles that were out and the different interviews, they were always from Discover were about how they're going to beat American Express and how everything was going to beat. And the one year they beat us in customer service, which had never happened. But it's just funny to kind of look back because then when you read our CEO's interviews, it was always about how we want to be there to help market for the people. We want to create different products for different individuals, for different lifestyles, different things like that. So it's just kind of interesting to look back in that way. But um, the other piece that stood out really was about oh no, I just went over that. But yeah, that was really that's really as far as I got on the book. So I apologize. But yeah, this is so far I like it, and I'm excited to kind of dive into this a little bit more.
Okay, I can go next. Um, when I started reading this book, I liked like what he had said in the very beginning. He said, if we believe in a world in which we can feel inspired, safe, and fulfilled every single day. And he went on. And just in the past 6 months, my world kind of shifted. Things kind of happened for me. And I've been like thinking about how to serve others and how to make people feel the most comfortable they can around me. And I think that if you if you care about another person's soul and actually how they feel, I think we'll do really well in life. And later on, he says human beings want to feel a part of something. We crave the feeling of belonging. And my first job is a fitness instructor. I train people, and I find that there's some really heartbroken people out there. They're lonely, even though they're in a big group of people. They're lonely, and if you even take a moment and go up to them and say, "Hey, how are you doing today?" They light up. They feel seen. They feel wanted, and um, I think that's really important when you think about an infinite game. Like, really, we're on this earth to serve others, and if I could wrap my head around that a bit better, I think that I would be a better person and I'd be able to be better at anything I wanted to do. And then he talks about resilient, and like you can talk about that in the business space. Things go up and down, but like I read that book called Comfort Crisis. I don't know if you guys ever read that, but I feel like we all like, so my husband and I do a lot of hiking, and whenever we hike a really high mountain, and when I get to the very top and I can't breathe, all I think is like, could you please just give me a hot shower? Can you please just give me my warm bed? And if something really bad happened in my life and I was denied those things, I'm like, how well would I do? Like, and so to put it all together, if we think about like everything we do as long term, and every day we get up to purpose to be the best human being that we can to help others, I don't know, I think that we're going to do well in everything. So that's that's what I got from the book so far.
I can go next. Hello, hello. I have so many notes, but I'm going to boil it down to 3. First of all, I have a super brain crush on Simon Sinek. Just if anybody of you guys do, he's so awesome. He kind of makes everything really simple when you read it. So if any of you have his number, just let him know. He's got a fan. So the first, you guys kind of went over some stuff that I already kind of made notes on, like I think it was Pixie said, like, yeah, it's in all areas of your life. It's true. Like, the infinite game versus the finite thing, whether it's friends, obviously husband, partner, wife, whatever, workplaces, like, it is the journey. It is the journey. We've read these books. What was the one? Trusting teams and community. That section was something I've been working on myself for a while. And it's been through, like, I have the word of the year kind of thing. And it a few years ago it was authenticity, then it turned into alignment, then it was let go, and then it was and this year's integrate. So it's kind of like having the book club is like integrating for me. So growth happens where you feel safe. The book club, I really feel it's happening here for me. I feel it's the same for you guys too. I'm in ADHD groups. I'm in a hair community, like a hair salon I'm in. And then I've actually volunteer very actively at the Legion I live next door to. And I was just talking about it yesterday to one of the clients. Like, it is literally a house of misfits. If you don't know what or have ever been to a Legion, like having community where people are really truly kind of like odd and weird and whatever, it's because they're actually living authentically in that place. If you've ever been to a Legion, so there's that where I feel safe. Definitely there. Let's see. The other section was about the worthy rivals, which Ron kind of talked about. Like, comparison can be growth, not insecurity, that part. Another thing I've been really reflecting on is, like, in personal development, is like mirrors. So when you actually come across somebody, they are literally a mirror, and it's your choice to react to it. So for me, I have an identical twin, so that's super convenient. I can kind of see how we choose to live. Really objectively, it's very handy. If you can find a twin, that's amazing. The people that I'm surrounded with, like friends, colleagues, hubby, daughter, like, the worthy rivals, like even in my daughter, she's a worthy person to teach me a lot, challenges me to grow and be honest and stuff like that. And you got to be like the quote mature adult. Um, let me see. Let's see. And the last section that's been really big for me is the section on the self forgiveness and growth. Um, yeah, like it's really big for people who have ADHD because we have a subconscious thing where it's like you just what's wrong with me, right? My brain's not working. So I've been doing a lot of brain research and stuff like that, and so just letting go of expectations of what you thought was like what should be the linear path, like the last book talked about. But whereas if this is the long-term gain and the community is always going to be here, which I feel with the companies that I'm in alignment with, as and even this book club, because it's been reiterated many times, this book club's never going away, right, Chris, Justin? So it's kind of like having that comfort of knowing that you have that authentic community that you can always kind of fall back on, and it's like it's just one part of the aspect of life that feels deeper. It just feels really good to be part of, and letting go of the expectations in that self-forgiveness part. And I just watched a little like clip and video of this guy talking about forgiving four things will help you be free in life. It was like forgiving your parents, forgiving yourself, forgiving anybody who's hurt you or wronged you, and then there was one more forgiveness. I forgot it. So when you release it, you can reset and move forward, and that's kind of where I'm at in the book. Is it just feels really good. I literally am a huge fan of Simon, so if we can have more Simon books, I'd love that. Just put it out there.
Yeah, Simon's awesome. The way he writes is awesome. Just the way that he kind of takes you on a journey and explains in very simple but very detailed fashion. He is definitely a craft. I mean, I discovered him through his TED Talk a long time ago about why and how start with why. So I love that TED Talk. It was one of my I remember it was crazy. It went viral on the internet, and so that's how I discovered him. So such a great guy. I'll try to hook you up with him, Marlene.
All right, I'll jump in, and I won't say that I'm speaking for Chris, but he did just have to run out of the house really quick to the office. I guess none of the computers are turning on, so we're not sure what's going on. Um, so for this, I think I got through 2.5 chapters so far. Um, I love the comparison between the finite and the infinite, businesses, leaders, whatever you attach it to, right? Whether you're applying it to your health or your faith or your business. I just love the way he's breaking it down. Um, and it made me think about my juice bar during COVID. So I had in 2019 just opened a juice bar. And in February of 2020, we had just opened our second location, and it was a walk-in juice bar.
Wow.
And um,
Timing. Oh my God.
it was crazy. So as I was reading this, I was like, you know, the reality is, I think that business was built on resiliency versus bottom lines at that time. And I was reading it like page 12 here where he just said a finite focused company may come up with innovative ways to boost the bottom line, but those decisions don't usually benefit the organization, the employees, or the customers, blah, blah, blah. Uh, it's the businesses that are focused on the infinite game or infinite goal, that are the most successful, right? And so like I got to thinking, I was like, man, I remember at that time, everything is shutting down. We were just opening. We're like, yeah, come to our juice bar, walk in, come see what we have. We've got fresh food, we've got fresh juice. And then, right, everything shuts down and nobody's walking in. And we started having to make our goals to basically figure out ways to get our product in front of our customers. And so that started with everything from immediately finding an online outlet or revenue or process to, have people order, call in, doing everything we absolutely could to allow people to pick up outside, go to our drive-through, shuttle our juices, have a delivery service before, all the other companies were kind of jumping in and taking hold of this opportunity. We were just trying to figure it out ourselves. We would have before we knew that we needed to have people on insurance to drive a product and all of that. I was like, hey, you have a car, you're going to go deliver this, to this house. It was crazy, but it wasn't about the bottom line. It was ultimately the idea of, right, how do we get our product in front of them so that way they learn that they can't live without it. So that way in the future, they, become that everyday customer. And it turned into, we were building charcuterie boxes before that was a thing, and we were delivering those. We were having, I mean, like, we would get orders for 50 of these boxes for like 1 to 2 days at a time, and it was overwhelming. But here we are having to order minimums just to get our fresh product. We had to find out a way to ultimately use that product, right? And then when there was no more plastic to put our juices into plastic bottles, we had to jump into finding glass. I remember buying glass, like a dozen glass mason jars for $75 a case. I mean, it was crazy. And normally they're like $12 a case. Like they're like $1 a jar. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? It's not about the bottom line. It's just about getting our product in front of the customer. And then ultimately that just led to growth. 2021, we had our best year ever. 2022, it just got better. I sold the company in 2023. It's just, as I was reading this, it was just like, man, it's amazing how, like it says, a company built for resilience is a company that is structured to last forever. This is different from a company built for stability. I didn't really have a chance to build for stability, but honestly, like looking at the blessings of that, the resiliency served the infinite game, basically. And so, yeah, it just made me think of that and kind of the comparison of what we went through and how could there have been a different outcome had we been established, sooner rather than later. And yes, timing and all of that. But I also like the line where he said, we cannot expect that we or every leader will lead with a perfect infinite mindset, or that any leader with an infinite mindset will be able to maintain that mindset at all times. I definitely didn't go into 2020 with this like infinite mindset leadership role. It was really, oh my gosh, how the heck are we going to make this work? I'm already risking everything. I can't lose it all in 1 year because the world decides to get a little crazy. Um, but it also tied into the book we just read, right? Where it's like you have two paths. There's no failure in it, right? You're just going to get those goodies along the way. And so, um, yeah, I'm really enjoying the book so far. I've always enjoyed Simon Sinek. Um, yeah, I think it's great, and I just need to catch up a little bit to where everybody else is. So, good book.
Hey y'all, I can go next. How's everyone doing?
Super.
Cool. I guess I'm probably not of the majority. I'm finding the book rather dry, and I'm having a bit of a hard time getting through it. I found there's a few key pieces that I've really been able to latch onto, but for me, some of the examples have been good, but I'm finding it a bit dry. So just a different perspective. I
That's
guess
what we
just
love, Rhonda.
yeah, well,
You
there you
don't.
go.
No one has to. I mean, that's what book club is about. Is everyone has a different perspective, and sometimes when you're reading a book and you have a perspective and you hear other people's perspective, you're like, maybe I, because this is the unique thing about books. Books fall on you where you are, right? So wherever you are in life, like I've read books 20 years ago and I've reread them 20 years later, and the book completely fell on me in a completely different place that I was like, wow, I did not get that out of that book 20 years ago because that's not where I was. So, I think it all has to do with where we are in our life. So there's no wrong or there's no right. And that's what I love about book club is because even your perspective, on where this is not falling on you. I love to hear that.
Great. Well, thanks, Jay. Yeah, that's a good bit of like you say, a little bit of balance is always or perspective is always good. I'm just gonna refer to my phone if y'all don't mind, because I've still
For
got
sure.
my clipped wing here, so I'm not really writing notes. Some of the things that stood out for me is focusing on how the product benefits those who buy them, and I think yeah, that's a really good lesson because we often get caught up in ourselves. What can I sell? What can I do? What can I get to make my numbers? I do come from a sales background a little while back, and yeah, there's always that push and that intensity to just focus on okay, getting your numbers. What do I need for this month, this quarter, this year? But to try and extrapolate and look at the long term, there is real value in that. Just sorry, bear with me. I'm a little slow these days. Another thing that I wrote is consistency becomes more important than intensity. So, doing what you're saying you're going to do, I think is important. Setting expectations and letting people know that, if you've got it, if you're going to take care of something, that's really important. And the always showing up is good too. I don't have any exciting examples like some of you folks have had, but I really appreciate hearing your stories. And, I think it was Crystal, maybe it was Shannon that said, yeah, human beings want to feel a part of something. We crave the feeling of belonging. Actually, I think it was Shannon who said that. And yeah, we all want to feel like we matter. And I kind of, a couple of years ago, I took on sort of this feeling of, yeah, just trying to make sure that people I interact with, that after we interacted, whether it was the bus driver, the person I was buying my groceries from, the person I met in the elevator, that we all kind of tried to leave everybody feeling not good or positive, but just trying to make all my experiences feel like people mattered. Because I know that myself, I don't crave attention, but I don't like being ignored. And sometimes I find that we're all so busy and we pass each other and we just get in our own heads. So sometimes just the fact that we can focus for just even like a few brief seconds on another person is really important. So I know that's something that I've tried to do in my daily life. And just bear with me, like I said, I just have to go through my notes. Loyal customers go out of their way to pay a premium to buy from that company over another and encourage their friends to do the same. So once again, we know that as far as the product, there's nothing like it out there, but customer service is so important and just showing up for people matters. And maybe I just had one or two more things to share. Words matter. And we all know that words matter and how we say things. I absolutely love the thesaurus. I can't say the word, but I absolutely love the thesaurus. I know part of me, I call myself sometimes a word nerd. If I come across a word that I don't know, I look it up because I do find that words have such power and such meaning. And then the other one they talk about is they said the order in which a person presents information more often than not reveals their actual priorities. So I thought that was a really key piece of information for me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to keep that in mind just as I'm sharing things. So that's really all I have to share. Like I say, yeah, I'm finding the book a little dry, and for me, the examples have been great, but I find that could have put it on a few pages, and it would have meant the same. So thanks for letting me share.
Anybody else?
No, I think
Everyone else has
everybody
gone?
went. It's
It's
your
on you.
turn.
Okay, great. Well, I love the book. It's funny. I was caught in this entanglement of trying to figure out where I'm infinite and where I'm finite, and I feel like most of my life is I see it as an infinite thing and something building and growing. But being an athlete and playing sports, I think I get caught in the finite role as well with some things because I'm very competitive. And so, games are like there's an end to them. But then also in my mind, there's an infinite of improving and getting better in that game and improving. So there's I always want to be the best at everything I do, and I know that that's going to be the best is always this. It's always this, and then you go down, and then you go up, and there's always this competitive. There's always going to be somebody better. There's always going to be somebody that can do it better, and that game is the infinite game for me. That I'm always on my toes. And some of the examples that he used, with Microsoft and the Apple phone, like them trying, they had the MP3 player, and they were going to take market share, and then all of a sudden Apple came out with this iPhone that basically just took 100% of the market share, and they were doing more in iPhones than they were doing overall at Microsoft for computers, software, like everything that they did. So, and then, Blockbuster and the people that don't evolve. And I think, in any game that we're in, we should have an infinite, right? I mean, marriage is infinite, right? It's a constant learning, it's a constant improvement, it's a constant getting better. There's nothing finite in being a parent, because it's going to be an ever evolving, ever changing relationship between your kids, and even in business. I mean, you know, being in the insurance business 15 years ago, I just thought this was the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be, a 1% insurance agent and be with Allstate, and I was going to have an annuity for the rest of my life, and I was going to sail off into the sunset. And I put all this time and effort and energy in, and then life changed, and so it taught me a big lesson that nothing is finite. And I thought that was finite. I thought, my story was 65 years old. I'm going to bring an operator in to run it. I'm going to collect my paycheck and, sail off into the sunset. And that's not what happened. And so I think that was God's unique way of telling me, this is not supposed to be your life. This is, because, a lot of you don't know, but I had something that happened to me in 2015, with Xanax. I couldn't sleep. The doctor prescribed Xanax. I took it for 6 weeks. It ruined my brain for about a year, just being on it for 6 weeks. And it turned me into, I had anxiety, I had depression, which I've never had in my entire life, just from this pill that I took, trusting a doctor and not researching like I normally do, out of disparity to sleep. And the whole time I'm going through it, I've never done drugs, I've never done alcohol. And I'm just asking the universe and God, why me? I used to watch this intervention show with a friend of mine because I was always just so fascinated that people could get addicted to drugs and why they would even try it if they knew what it was going to do to them. And I just was, like Dateline, when someone kills their husband or their wife, I'm just I'm always just so fascinated by why people do that. And then I'm in this circle, and that happened to me. And after I came out of that, I realized that was God's way of telling me that I was playing small. And then this stuff started happening in the insurance world, and they started making changes. And it was just all these signs were coming from the universe that you're playing way too small. You're playing a finite game. And so after reading this book, it was just the first couple of chapters, it just came so clear to me that, I do play an infinite game because I know the game is forever now. But I think I was playing a finite game 6-7 years ago, thinking that this was the goal that I was trying to get to. And I'm so competitive in sports. So I love the book for kind of, I was aware that things are not going to be the same, but this book kind of made me feel a lot better about this infinite game that I'm in, that it's going to be ever changing and it's never going to be the same. So there's just a couple things I want to share with you guys that I loved. And I always share this with you because I think, sometimes we forget what we read. And so there's just a couple things that I love. It says, in the turn of events, This must have driven Ballmer crazy, talking about the CEO. After just 5 years, the iPhone sales alone were higher than Microsoft's all of their products combined. Like, and if you know anything about Ballmer, this guy, I mean, he owns the Clippers. He's a very competitive guy. Like, to be in this situation, to have this company just beating you down. And what I loved about that is people they get so enveloped with competing against other people, and Apple was competing against themselves, right? That they weren't worried about what Microsoft was doing, right? So many people worry about what other people are doing, what other teams are doing, and this was not the situation that Ballmer did. Like, he worried about Apple worried about what they were doing, and then I love this one too. We don't get to choose whether a particular game is finite or infinite. We do get to choose whether or not we want to join the game. And so if you listen to these words, like, if you treat everything that we do as a game, one, it's way more fun, right? Because it's a game that we're playing. Everything. I mean, marriage is a game. It's like, how well. And what I mean by it's a game is, you shouldn't play games, but if you treat it as a game of trying to figure out your spouse, if there's something going on with them, like a board game, like Clue, it becomes a lot more fun than, just not playing that game with someone. So should we choose to join the game, we could choose whether we want to play it with a finite, meaning this is how I think marriage should be, or I'm going to play the infinite game, and no matter what happens in this, I'm going to be along the journey, and I'm going to improve, and I'm going to help my spouse improve. That's kind of what I translate this to on that side. And then, so I love what he says again. A just cause is a specific vision of future state that does not yet exist. And in order for a just cause to provide direction for our work, to inspire us to sacrifice, and to endure not to just in the present, but for lifetime be our own, it must meet 5 standards. Those who are unsure whether their purpose, mission, or vision statement is a just cause, or those interested in leading with a just cause, can use these standards as a simple test. And I love these. For something affirmative and optimistic, inclusive, open to all the world who like to contribute, service-oriented. For the primary benefit of others, resilient, able to endure political, technological, and cultural change. And idealistic, big, bold, and ultimately unachievable. And so that is a just cause. And I love how just those words that he used on what it should be is so outside of the box what normal people would use. And if you really just take those words in and say, is this a just cause? Like, I feel like what we're doing at Lifeway, what I'm doing at, with the financial company is a just cause, right? Financial literacy, wellness, like, that's why I'm so behind these things, because I know what this could do for mankind and society. And it's not, for me, someone saying no to me or not being interested in it destroy me. We just had this conversation with Kyle. For that no to destroy me means I'm playing a finite game. If that no doesn't destroy me, then I'm playing an infinite game, because that no doesn't mean no, it just means not right now, right? And so in sales, an infinite game is I'm going after as many no's as possible, and they don't affect me, because I know that I'm on a mission. I know where I'm going, and people respect that and they see that. So I have way more notes than this. Rhonda, I know it wasn't hitting you, but for me, in my life right now, based on what happened to me in 2015, what happened to my insurance business, what's happening in my life now, and where I'm going, this hits me really, really hard, because I think I'm in both spaces, and I don't want to be at finite, because I don't think finite takes you anywhere. Finite takes you off the path, I believe, where the infinite game is like, okay, this is happening. Why is this happening? What direction do I need to go in, and why do I need to go in that direction, for what cause? So that kind of just tied everything in my brain together for me. So I love this book, and I love the way he writes. Dr. Catherine, I think you're talking, but you're muted.
No, it's okay. I was leaving a message for someone. Sorry, I was
Oh,
listening to
sorry.
what you said. It's okay. But I can talk. No, I'm with you. I think this is, I love what you said that the books, it's where you're at, right? Like it absolutely is the truth. Like every time you're reading something, it's kind of where you're at in life. And I agree with you as of where I'm at specifically with LiveWave, which is where I've met a lot of you guys. Yeah, like as a doctor, I get no's and crazies all the time. Like, what the heck are you doing? This is so out of the norm. And and I don't care. Like, I think once you have that cause and that and you really do believe in whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like everything else is kind of the noise and it's not necessarily I'm trying to be the best or compare with someone else what they're doing. It's like this is just what I'm doing and what I believe, and I believe that it's going to be helpful for humankind and no matter what it is that you're doing in business, right? Like that's just my example for now, but it doesn't matter what you're doing. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I have a friend that's a doctor, and I called him today, and he has a pain in his neck and his back. And I said, listen, I have something. You have to have an open mind about it. And so I told him about it. And then I was like, hey, listen, I got a doctor friend that she can also talk to you about it and kind of, give you some details. And he was like, I don't need your doctor friend. He was like, if you're
I can
telling
make
me
my
it's
own decisions.
no, he was just like if you're telling me this thing is going to work, I'm at a point right now, even as a doctor, I'm willing to try anything to make this pain go away. And if you say it works, I trust you, right? But it's because of the passion and conviction and what I'm talking about, like what you're saying right now, right? So it's like, I'm using you as a backup to sell it, but he was like, I don't need no doctor. So like I learned in that conversation, it's like, okay, if I'm delivering this with passion and conviction, I don't need to say I have a doctor because he already trusts and believes my word. So again, if you have a finite mentality towards it, it's like, okay, I'm going to get this guy with this device on his body. Or if you have an infinite mentality, it's like, I'm going to go after this and hey, listen, take it or leave it. You could try it or not. It's not going to do anything to you. So, all right, guys, I have a really, really important meeting that I have to get to right now at 2:00 with home office. Thank you guys so much for this. And I probably will not be on next week because it'll be 5:00 in the morning next week. So if we want to push this, wait, what time is it? 7. It's going to be 7:00 in the morning, and I'm going to be on vacation, so I'm not going to be on book club next week. We're going to be in Hawaii. So if you guys still want to have it, you guys can have it. Okay, so maybe oh, that's right, you guys are on your honeymoon because you actually coming here when we're leaving and you're leaving when we go back the exact same time. So I think maybe we should just skip next week, Lola, and have the meeting because there's a lot of people that aren't going to be on here. So let's move it to the week of the 13th.
Okay. Oh,
All right, guys,
are
but
we
still
doing
read.
just to 150 or the?
No. We'll read to 225.
Okay.
Yeah, still read to 225. We're just gonna not meet next week, and then we'll discuss two segments on the next meeting.
Awesome.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Happy
Bye.
holidays, happy
Meeting.
honeymoon.